6 years ago, the founder of Wikileaks, Julian Assange, walked into the Ecuadorian embassy in London to seek asylum. He was escaping possible extradition to Sweden, where he faced rape charges. 2,800 days later, Assange is still held up inside the embassy of Ecuador with little hope of leaving anytime soon. We speak to Ana Alban, who was Ecuador's ambassador to the United Kingdom in June 2012, when Assange walked into the embassy. Ana Alban, thank you so much for joining us at the TRT World Forum. 6 years ago, in 2012, Julian Assange walked into the UK Embassy of Ecuador while you were the ambassador. Tell us about that experience.
Well, I met Julian a little bit before that. He was very close friend to the consul of Ecuador in that time. And I met him a little bit before because he did some interviews and so. But I do remember very clearly that day because I was having a meeting in the parliament and I received a call saying that Mr. Assange was in the embassy. And I said, ask him to wait because I'm not expecting him. So when I arrived, he gave me this letter asking for asylum, and well, I didn't know really what to do because I was a political appointment as ambassador, so and not many people has experience about citizens asking for asylum. So I wait a little bit until Ecuador was awake because it was late for Ecuador. It was too early for Ecuador. And I talked with the president and he said that I should give him space, let's say, in the embassy until we decide. And it took more than 2 months after that to decide if we were going to give him asylum or not. So, and we have to run because we didn't have anything prepared in the embassy to have a person living there. But I think it's, of course, you can say that there is an Ana before Assange and after Assange because what we lived and the experience that we had were very interesting and uncommon.
What was your experience before? Well, we know you're the ambassador. What was the experience after?
Well, first of all, Julian represents so many things, and I always said that he showed me a world that I wasn't aware that existed. I wasn't aware of this big brother world that we live in. So, and since then, I'm much more aware of the details that.
Should I hide my phone? I was just going to say, all right, cover my camera. Please continue.
Yeah, it's not easy to think that in a city like London you can take the same taxi driver twice in the same day. So a lot of things begin to happen to me and the people who was around working in the embassy. But it's
So you literally had the same taxi driver pick you up from different locations.
In two different locations the same day in London. So that's something that cannot happen.
Amazing service.
Yeah, and then that you lose your mobile and then appears 3 days after. So
if you had to go back in time, what would you have done differently, if anything? Or could you have?
Well, as ambassador, I was in charge of the embassy, of course, but the decision was not mine. The decision was made by the president and the Minister of Foreign Affairs in that time. So
Did you have a different opinion?
It was not my opinion, really. I had to do what they asked me to. But I would really like to have a clear strategy since the beginning to know and to see what we can do with a person like him in the embassy. Because during my time and since then till now, the relation is coming up and down. So now he's not allowed to use internet and to receive visitors.
Well, I want to get to that. It's been 2,800 odd days since that day in June 2012, since Julian Assange has been there. And his fortunes, he's been given citizenship, but he's still locked in that embassy compound. What do you think he's gone through?
Well, he was aware when we knew about this. My expectation was we are not going to have light in this for 7 years, maybe 10 years. So that is what I said since the beginning, and I think
Well, you can say it, but the idea of spending 10 years in a closed-off compound, facing arrest and/or deportation on exit is quite, carrying it out or living through it is quite different.
To think that was going to be easy to deal and to negotiate with the British government is not to have an idea how they are. So
how are they, with your experience as?
Well, he between when he got into the embassy until the asylum was given, it was more than 2 months. So he knew the space, he knew what he could do or not. So,
and according to you, his health was worsening, but then the Ecuadorian government came out and said, no, his health is fine, he's okay. What was that about?
Well, again, he knew how his life was going to be if he was in the moment that he was given asylum, because there was no time for that. So it can be 6 years as now, it can be longer or whatever. So, and he knew the limitations of the space, and he knew the limitations of everything, and he wanted to go ahead.
So what happens? Like cabin fever sets in, right? When you're in a confined space, I might know, yes, I'm going to go through this. These will be the symptoms. Psychologically, I'll deteriorate. I'll get more aggressive. But how does it play out? What did you witness?
Well, he has to adapt to this new space, and he had to adapt to have times to do things, not to intervene with the work in the embassy. He's a free man. I'm talking that he has what I know that is difficult for him to accept rules, and it was difficult for us, his team and the embassy team, to find a way of living without disturbing the others. So we could manage after a few months, but I haven't been in touch with him the last year, I think. I used to visit him when I went to London. I don't go so often, so...
How have the attitudes in Ecuador changed since Assange came into the embassy to now, 6 years later, towards him, towards Wikileaks?
Julian, as a free man that he is, he began to do things as giving opinions about the relation between Spain and Catalonia and the elections in the United States and some other things. And we as a country...
Not just opinions.
Well, we as a country think that he, at least it's not nice if he's given asylum.
You're being quite diplomatic now, you know this.
Well, you know, it's the first time that I talk about Julian in an interview, because I'm not involved in the case any longer, and I just prefer to talk about any, let's say, a personal things or the experience, but I'm not allowed, or I cannot talk in behalf of my government because I'm not involved in the case any longer. So
But the opinions of the people of Ecuador, of yourself, your perception of this man who came in, according to you, as a free man with a legitimate request, and now, 6.5 years later, what has happened? What has changed?
What changed we have another president, and his line is different to the former one. And also he gave some opinions that the government of Ecuador thinks that it's not polite to give if he is in a space that is giving him a way to live. So even though those, whatever he says, have effect of what is happening in some other countries, as Catalonia and Spain, that we are very, very close to Spain, of course, because we were colony of them, so it is a long relationship. And well, the elections in United States, that everyone every country has an effect of what is happening in the States.
So was that one of the reasons, specifically the elections in the United States and his opinions about Spain and so on and so forth, and also the accusations that he was being used knowingly as a pawn in the hands of the Russians in leaking through Wikileaks selective information targeting, let's say, Hillary Clinton's campaign? Is that perception, was that behind internet access being cut off for him being more restricted?
I think in Ecuador, Julian Assange is not a common talk. There is people who, maybe millennials or a little bit oldest, that think that he's an hero, that he gave a new perception of how to access to information and blah, 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 blah. And, but 6 years ago, he was on the news all the time, showing what was happening. Now we do have in the parliament some people who is asking how he was given the citizenship. And I think, well, people have the right to know how that process went. And, but he's not in the news as he used to be before, as a source of free information or a free journalism. Because I think that he is very, he has, doing what you just said, he's giving, being a journalist, is giving an opinion instead of publishing information.
Julian Assange, 2018, hero, villain, or an embarrassment for Ecuador? Or all of the above?
Depends on the year, I think. He went all...
he started as a hero. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Then he became a villain.
And after being a villain, he can be an embarrassment, yes. But what I think, I'm not allowed to talk in behalf of my government.
These are all your opinions, and we acknowledge that, and our viewers also know this, that these are your opinions as a witness to a critical time in the history of your country, and in fact of the world, because this Assange, Wikileaks, affected a lot of things around the world.
Yeah, and what I think also is because the situation that he is living in, you cannot ask a person who is in that situation for such a long time to be clear, to have clear ideas of what are their goals. I think what is happening now that he wants to survive, and when he is doing some things, it's because he wants to be on the news and to be trying to find a solution of his troubles, and maybe that's he's doing some mistakes.
You seem to empathize with his condition almost.
Of course, I feel sorry for him. I think he knew what was going to happen, but you always have the hope that it's not going to be that bad, and it's worse than what we expect.
All right, let's bring it close. I know this is a very emotional topic for you as well. How does this end? When does it end?
I think it will end. You have two ways to find a solution with the British government, or to have, let's say, something awful can happen to him. He can get ill. We don't have in the embassy facilities to attend any emergency. If he has an appendicitis or something bad with his tooth or something like that, we cannot.
Can the Ecuadorian government do something to take him out without the British intervening?
No.
So, can they reach an agreement, a solution with the British government?
If the solution doesn't is not come, the solution has to come between the Ecuadorian government, the British government, and Julian's people.
So what is the solution? What kind of solution?
I'm not involved in that.
As an observer, as someone who has seen this, what can be a solution?
The British government insists that he has a debt with their justice because he broke his bail. He has this, and he has, for the British government, he has to respond for that. So, and
as an Ecuadorian citizen, there's nothing the Ecuadorian government can do?
No, without the British government.
So we might have Assange be in the Ecuadorian embassy for many more years to come?
Seems to be.
With or without internet access?
There are two things. I don't want to talk too many. A lot of people took advantage of the relation. You have, there are so many books around saying, giving opinion about the case without knowing him. Some other books are written with his approval. And there is two films. I think one of these, one of them is with his approval, and the other, I don't think. Well, there is one for Laura Portas,
yeah.
And another one. One of them from Laura is with his approval, and the other is not. And a lot of people took advantage of whatever information they have about Julian. I don't want to do that.
No, to the point of disinformation, yeah. Or misinformation.
And also because there are some negotiations now between the British government and the Ecuadorian government. I know that the negotiations exist, but I don't know details on it.
How did you suffer personally? Like, what kind of toll and attacks did you face?
Oh, so many. Well, you know...
As a woman, as a diplomat, as an Ecuadorian, well, tell us about your story.
You can tell so many things. For example, it was, in that time, I was not in the cabinet any longer, but all of them were the ministers were my friends. So I know for sure that they were making jokes about me and a possible relationship with Julian, and they used to say that after, I don't know, don't disturb them because I have no children. So maybe that is the chance that Ana gets children and you will have some, we call gringuitos, gringo you will have some Ana with some gringuitos very soon. So let them be happy. And of course, since then, every time, I cannot say every time, but 2 or 3 times that I go through the States, I am questioning in the customs, my bags are open, and blah, 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 blah. And what I said, how can you find the same taxi driver twice in the same day in London? If you go from Harrods, where the embassy is, and when you go to the city. So it is crazy to think that you can, in a normal day, to just get the same taxi driver. It's impossible. Or that when I move from London to Ecuador, well, I before the time of the selfies, I used to carry a camera all the time because I like to take pictures. So and because I didn't want to have my pictures download in my computer, I had all of them in the memory
card. Or whatever.
So and once suddenly I took my camera and the memory card was gone. So maybe someday there will be many pictures, very intimate pictures, because we celebrate Christmas, New Year, and those kind of things, and will appear. In the beginning, I was so worried about him being depressed that I decided to celebrate Christmas with him. For me, it's not funny to celebrate Christmas in the embassy with, and we bring his father, some relatives, but what I try to do is to give him, let's say, a sense of home in the embassy, which was not easy. So, and after the ambassador that came after me, I was asked, and because maybe I am like I am, to make him feel comfortable. But the next ambassador was asked to put him into rules. So the relation between between him and the ambassador and with me were completely different. And now there is another ambassador who is being ambassador. No, he has no relation with. So
it's another isolation.
Yeah.
Personally.
So, and that's what I mean when I said there.
When was the last time you were in touch with Assange?
Maybe a year ago.
Oh wow! And how was that conversation?
He. In that time, he said that he cannot be detained of saying what he needs to say, because that's why he asked for asylum. But what I think is that being given asylum is not, let's say, a free card to do whatever he thinks. He has to have some rules. But he's like he is. He has no rules.
He's like it almost sounds like a tragic Greek tragedy, and this character, this Sisyphean character, right, who's trying to get this boulder over a hill. But he's locked in that cycle. He can't do it. Do you see it the same way? Is he like a tragic character?
And it's happening also that there is a lot of people who used to be close to him that he is not any longer. Bianca Jagger used to support him, and they had a problem, and she's not supporting him any longer. His team, his close team, is dissolving. So maybe you can understand that a person in his situation can be difficult. But to deal with him every day, what is causing is to separate to people, even people who cares about him prefers not to stay close to him because he's
become toxic almost because
yeah.
he's so isolated in that environment, and he's lost so much that he's losing everything else.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so it is.
Well, you are a very brave and strong person to be able to articulate all these events, and we are privileged to witness it. Thank you so much, Ana.
Thank you.